Yeah, can you see the screen?
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
You know the slide yet, not the screen, it's a webcam.
No, actually, there's already screen sharing. Sheila, can you see the slides already?
Yep, I can.
Can I? Okay. Yeah, let me just try to minimize this and then we're good to go. Okay, let me know when you're good to go.
Okay, I'm good. So Blair, we can start?
Yep, go ahead. Everything's good on our end.
Okay, cool. So good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Sheila, and I'm the Campus Marketing Advisor for Shell. And with me, I have my colleagues who are seated in the Miri office. So you guys want to just very quickly introduce yourselves and what do you do before we go through? So start with
Hi everyone. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Wendy Fu. So I'm the graduate recruiter based in Miri currently.
My name is Ka Tiong. I'm the learning advisor based in Miri as well.
Hi, my name is Ming Yang. I'm a process engineer supporting an offshore platform in Sarawak.
Hi, my name is Agan. I'm a graduate operations production engineer, and I'm also supporting a platform in Malaysia.
Hey, hi everyone, my name is Chris. I'm an IT graduate, dealing with the equipments and things like that. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Joseph Koh, Learning and Development Manager for Malaysia and Philippines.
So, so we can go on to the next slide, Chris. So as part of Shell's culture, safety is always of utmost importance to us. So for those who are in the room, wherever your locations may be, please be aware of your emergency exits. Know where you need to go to assemble as well. In the case of any emergency, please ensure that you follow all the rules. If you're walking up or down the stairs, please ensure that you hold the handrails. No running. Just be alert of your surroundings and be aware of any instructions that is given to you. All right. So next. So in today's engagement, what we're going to do is we've already had the welcome and introduction. We're going to go through very quickly in terms of introduction to Shell Malaysia and about the Shell graduate program, where we'll have Kar Tiong and Joseph to walk you through in terms of what it is about. And then I'll come in and share back with you in terms of the application process and what the Shell Ideas 360 competition is all about. And then we'll open up the floor for any questions and answers. So along the way, do jot down your questions that you may have. You have also, as part of the talk, we will have Mengyan and Agan who will be sharing their experiences as graduates working in the organization and in the projects that they're involved in. Yeah. So without further ado, I'll just hand this time over to Kar Tiong and Joseph.
So about the graduate program. So indeed, Shell is in Malaysia for about 120 years. Yeah, and we are very proud to be here. We are a global group of energy and petrochemical companies. Indeed, in Malaysia, we are one of the founders of the upstream businesses here. We have been around, especially in Sarawak, for as long as we can remember. So a rich history, very proud to be the mainstream as well as a brand that's associated quite frequently with Malaysia. Yeah, so as you can see, we are quite high in terms of the brand, as one of the most in-demand companies to be worked for in a few of the surveys. Yeah, and in 2014, we have gone through. We won the Best International Organization category for Life at Work Awards. Yeah, so in terms of businesses, we are not only recognized as one of the top companies, we also recognized as one of the companies that give work-life balance. We have quite a huge leverage in terms of enabling people to balance their work, as well as different categories for married people as well as for women. Yeah, so these are all numbers. It does show where we are, and we want to be the most innovative and competitive company in the world. And you probably would have read a fair bit of news, especially on the intended purchase of BG. So we are possibly going to be the biggest LNG company in the world as well. Yeah. So in terms of companies, countries that that we are in, we are in more than 17 countries. We have about over 90,000 employees. Yeah. So it's a huge company that that is hopeful that you would consider us as a place for employment for the future. Okay, so let's look into Shell. Yeah, so where we are quite strong in the 3 geographical regions of Europe, Asia, and North America. And in terms of Malaysia, you can see there is quite a fair mix in Sarawak and Cyberjaya. Yeah. Let me probably give a bit of context as well. Sarawak and Bintulu is really on the upstream side. Cyberjaya is where you have the shared services organization, and in KL we have a strong downstream as well as production and technology business. So let's look. It looks really interesting here with a bit of moving objects, but basically these are the supply chain, yeah, from upstream to downstream to customers. You probably know us from our retail businesses, or when you buy lubricants, yeah, when you want to service your car. But how do you get that? So there are 2 main, or we have segregated ourselves to 2 main businesses, which is upstream, basically where you explore and get the oil out and pass it to the downstream business. And in the interface, you have the trading organization where they look into how to optimize the hydrocarbons, and then you have the downstream businesses, which basically looks into how to produce the hydrocarbons up to what the customer or the legislative required, and then it ends up in the end customer, which is either consumers or businesses. Yeah, so that's basically the business that we're looking at in Shell. Okay, so Shell is really interesting, and probably some of the grads will tell you later how that works out for you. So we do seek the best, and we want to give you opportunities for you to explore. We are very open for new ideas, and indeed, we keep on challenging ourselves to come up with new ideas and to do things differently. Of course, also understanding that we are in the business of making things safely. We are very strong as well in the area of network. Yeah, so one of the things that when I joined Shell is really the knowledge that you do have a very deep and wide network to work with. Yeah, and probably we'll talk about some of the projects that we have in the world. So that's a fair bit of a portfolio of opportunities in Shell. So what is a Shell graduate program, you may ask? I come from few external companies, and when I joined Shell, I was quite impressed. I was quite impressed of this graduate program because basically I was a graduate when I joined the workforce, and there wasn't any opportunity as such. Yeah, so here is what that was designed and solidified with the aim of increasing time to autonomy. Yeah, so one is the consistency that is driven across the different businesses in Shell. So if you look at Malaysia, looking at Australia, you're looking at Thailand, we have the same graduate program across. Yeah, same definition, same requirement, same expectation, same driver. Yeah, and this is the consistency that helps us to get the quality that is desired. Yeah, so we basically work on with what do we expect of the graduates and what's the standard that we require. So so from day one, the expectation is when you come in, you are briefed on what the reality are, and then we want to continuously update and upgrade your responsibility. So you get introduction, quite strong onboarding. Generally, everybody goes through different courses. One of it is Shell Life, where you get to network with your other colleagues, other graduates, and then you go through a series of onboarding courses. You also look into deepening your professional technical line. There's a multitude of it, and each line has different expectations and courses assigned to it. Now, what's really different or interesting about graduate program in Shell is that the basis of this, it is at the strength of the multitude of courses that is that's offered. Yeah. So depending on the discipline that you are in, you go through almost quite different courses along the way. Okay. And secondly, it is quite individual to your career aspiration. Okay. And lastly, in terms of that, at the end we do during the session, during your graduate program, you are expected to fulfill what the requirements are. So you're assessed by not only your supervisor, but also by the global technical leads. Yeah, and at the end of this program, you go through a roundtable where you will be assessed again, yeah, in terms of your performance overall. Yeah, so it's not really just a series of courses or networks. There's heightened expectations of what this works out. Yeah. But let me share to you how it helps Shell. So graduate program helped us not only for the consistency, but it helped us to decrease the time for graduates to be onboarded to their job. Yeah, previously we were looking at 4 to 5 years. Now it's between 2 to 3 years. Yeah, so you do get the accelerated opportunities, yeah, as you move along. Okay, so that's a Shell graduate program, and here is a small view of what the definitions are. What's really helpful, if you can just bucket it, is one is that they are the courses, the formal courses that you go through. As you can see that in the blue colors. There's also job tasks that is aligned to what you need to deliver in terms of your daily job. And the third element is the coaching and mentoring. Yeah, so you do get coaches, and then the second element of that is the deepening of your future opportunities is by getting a mentor. Yeah, someone who are experienced or or in a leadership level. Okay, so these are the three elements, and how it works out, if you can see here, is that it's a combination of all, and so you not only get through it structurally, but you also get the social emotive support along the way. Okay.
Hey guys, this is Adam again. So as you can see on the slide, I'm a trainee operations engineer. I've been with Shell now for about 1.5 years, and I'll just talk to you about my my journey thus far in Shell. So I started out as a Shell scholar actually, and I spent 4 years down in Australia in UWA in Western Australia. I did a degree in chemical and process engineering over there. In my 3rd year, I applied for an assessed internship. That was back in Malaysia, with a Shell company called SMDS, so Shell Middle Distillate Synthesis. It's a really interesting company. They take basically natural gas and synthesize into long chain hydrocarbons and then chop it up into different kinds of products. So after my SAS internship, I finished up university, and having passed my internship, we got back into contact with Shell, and they sort of asked me what would my preference be for working with them. And during my SMDS time, I spent some time with these guys in operations, so the people who run the plants. And I decided, that's something that's pretty cool, something I want to do. And I asked to be as upstream as possible, and also in operations. And luckily, there was space for me there, and that's what I got. So I've been professionally here for about a year and a half. Basically, almost immediately after joining, for my particular skill pool, my particular type of job, they sent me offshore. So I've spent 1 year offshore at one of our gas production platforms. Really, really interesting experience. First time doing anything like that. Basically, you have to fly for about an hour in a helicopter to get out there. Spend 2 weeks with the operators on the platform. And really from the get-go, you have your hands, you get your hands dirty. You have sort of hands-on work with them. Coming from a process engineering background, it's really interesting to see sort of, gas coming out of wells and then all the different processing you do for it. But it's still a very complex system and a very steep learning curve. But the guys offshore are great. My OIM, so my offshore installation manager, he was my mentor out there. And the guys as well, they taught me a lot of things. And really good learning experience. What you might do in my kind of skill pool is, first of all, you want to make sure you're producing your gas and your liquids as safely as possible. So a lot of the training on the job is how to do that safely. Managing your permit to work system, making sure everyone has the right competencies, but also you get to sort of do some troubleshooting on equipment. And so in terms of applying your engineering skills, it's something which is quite, I guess, very, very related. I mean, in operations, you don't always go into the fine details of doing modeling and some of the more technical things, but you still have to have a pretty firm foundation on, your thermodynamics, fluid dynamics, and things like that. So I spent a year offshore, doing 2 weeks offshore and 2 weeks onshore. Those 2 weeks onshore were off days, but also during that time, we had a lot of training to do as part of our SGP program. So a few slides back, I think Joseph showed a slide where you have different trainings and different programs for each skill pool that you're in. For mine, I've had a chance to go for trainings here in Malaysia, also abroad. This region actually has a very interesting and very, I'd say, complete sort of training facilities. Here in Miri itself, we have a wells training facility, and just across the border in Brunei, we have another very well-established training center. So these trainings actually are pretty good networking opportunity. You meet people from all sorts of places, from India, Brunei, also from Australia, and they've really benefited, I guess, my professional career, because there's a lot of obviously there's a lot of overlap between what we train in and what we do on the job. Also, for this graduate program, a lot of the courses that we do are actually online. So you have something called Shell Open University, and you have access to all sorts of learning materials. So while some are mandatory, many others are ready for you to go and take them and apply for them. Most of them are free, so it's a great learning resource. It's really benefited me. In the environment that we're in here in Miri, we get to work with all sorts of people from all over the world. I mean, just in the teams that I've worked in, I've got to work with some Dutch fellows, Americans, Indians, plenty of Malaysians, even some Chinese guys. So really, we get to see a sort of broad range of experiences and cultures in this program. Currently, I'm in a new role. I'm no longer offshore, so I'm a production programmer, which has nothing to do with C++ or anything to do with coding. Rather, it's all about optimizing production, and it's a new experience. It's also part of my skill pool. So in this role, I get to liaise with our subsurface teams, which is basically learning a whole new set of lingo and jargon, but it's very interesting. And I think as mentioned by Joseph, we have these 6 monthly progress checks. So we have mentors, we have people who are looking out first and making sure that we're on track. I mean, I have my next progress check next week actually, so I have to get ready for that. But it's good to have that structure, to know exactly what you're doing. And also we have a very healthy graduate community over here. Plenty of graduates, and we have this graduate organization called Nexus, which has lots of activities which they plan. But having that community helps you sort of adapt to a new environment, and also helps you to pick up skills a bit faster as well. So that's about it for my graduate program thus far. I think I'll pass the time on to Meng Yang. He can add on a bit.
Okay, good morning, guys. My name is Meng Yang. So I'm a process engineer, which been with the company for about 7 years now. So I started out, I did a bachelor in chemical engineering from the University of Melbourne. And after that, I applied through, I think I recall, I applied through Grad One in Australia. So they actually invited me to apply online with Shell. So I think the process is still pretty much the same right now. So you do the online assessment. After that, you get called for a phone interview. I recall a very interesting question about national parks for some reason. Then after that, I got invited to go to the Shell Recruitment Day. So basically, you get through a string of interviews and challenge sessions as well. So basically, you work with different graduates. The first part, I think, if I recall correctly, is you have to go to basically, they'll give you the first interview, they'll give you a lot of information, and you have to summarize the key points and for that one, and then present it to the interviewers. The second bit, you have to work with your fellow candidates as well, and to basically try to resolve a conflict. And basically, you're giving a scenario, and you try to resolve the conflict, and basically make a decision to get unison on what to do. So that really challenges how you work with people, and also how you establish relationships. And final bit, I think they may have changed now, but it was a technical interview for myself. So basically, you challenge. My technical interview was about the projects I did in university. So my design project, which I did on gasification, which incidentally allowed me to get into, which caught their attention because they had an LNG group back then, and after the interview, I was called to discuss with the LNG manager. So it had and that pretty much led to my role in Shell. So after that, I got accepted. I work in KL as an LNG and gas technologist, which is pretty much a process engineer. So with that, I got quite an opportunity to work. So speaking about challenging roles from the get-go, so when I first arrived, he told me I had 2 jobs. One was to do an LNG logistics job for Malaysia LNG, which I had no idea what it was about. Then the second one, I had to support a plant in India, which I had no idea about either. So you're forced into the role where you have to with a steep learning curve, but the necessary support in hand as well, just to make sure that you don't sink. So it was really challenging times, and that says about the opportunities you get in Shell. So within that role in LNG, I supported a plant in Woodside, in Australia, also in Malaysia LNG, Brunei LNG, and also in Singapore, where I get to visit the ethylene cracker in Bukom Island in Singapore. And I also got an opportunity to visit Western China to do a feasibility study on a mini LNG plant in the middle of nowhere. So they travel in a van and see people open toilets, which was interesting. And then, then you get to travel with your senior these are very senior engineers as well. So you get, speaking of networking, you get to meet these wonderful people, so much experience, 30 years in Shell, very grumpy but very good as well. So, but lots of knowledge. So this one of the fun things about Shell, you get to a vast network of knowledge that you can tap into to make sure that you will basically stay afloat, even though you get a challenging roles as a graduate. After my 2.5 years, I got the opportunity to move to the Netherlands. So from that time, I was doing LNG, and I moved to upstream. So there's more fun bits, I suppose. So you do exploration and production. So I was called a concept engineer, which is an interesting term as well. But basically, it's a process engineer, and you get to work on early phase projects when they explore for a new field. You get and then you basically do the development of it. You look at the various opportunities, concepts on how you want to develop that field. You want it onshore, you want it offshore, you want it a floating LNG facility, so on and so forth. So in that role, you get to influence decisions in the project very early as well. So then that's quite satisfying if you want to work something like that. So this, I reckon that, yeah, Shell does give you a wide range of opportunities to work on. And of course, it won't be spoon-fed, but you will definitely, you need to push for it as well. So it's not like, so the current form, the SGP, is quite structured in the sense that it ensures that you're given the foundation that you require to move on forward in your technical career or commercial career if you choose to go that route as well. So I've known some people who, let's say, work for a few years in technical, and they discuss with their line manager in HR, they actually got a lateral move to work for a year in something different, let's say economics or deal making as well. So you get the depth and breadth as well in your Shell career, I believe. So after the role, I worked in the Netherlands, which I did projects around the world, so mainly in the Nigeria, Gabon, and Abu Dhabi. I came back to Malaysia to widen my experience in the more operational realm. I did a lot of design, I did some operations support, but I wanted to deepen my technical depth by doing more operational work, so the real world, if you will. It's always nice and fun to see the numbers, but when you see it producing in the middle of nowhere in an offshore platform, with Argan as well actually, the same platform, that you get to see what it means, what the decisions you make, how they influence the final product. So I've been working there for 1.5 years, doing lots of firefighting, supporting the offshore guys, which are great people as well. So you get to work with people, you delve into really technical work as well. For myself, I did a lot of modeling work as well, trying to understand how it looks like in an ideal world versus the real world, and try to bridge that gap. So that was quite fun as well, and that's my current role at the moment. So So basically, that's my career thus far, and still looking forward to more to great strides forward as well. So yeah, I think that's it from my end.
Sheila, back to you.
Cool. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, guys. So in essence, I think you have sort of an understanding now in terms of what the graduate program is about, and what is the purpose of the graduate program in Shell ultimately. And so in the next slide, what I'm going to share with you really is on what do we look for. I think a lot of times most graduates often wonder, what would be the requirements and how we assess you. Of course, there are baseline requirements in terms of your grades, for example, where we look at minimum CGPA of 3.0 and above, or in Australia, it would be weighted average of 70% and above. Yeah. But on top of that, we also look at the three main things these three main things that you see on the screen right now. And it's called capacity, achievement, and relationship. And in essence, if you look at capacity, so we zoom into capacity. When you look at capacity, capacity is not an assessment of your intelligence or your IQ, as most graduates would often perceive. Capacity really looks at how do you think. What is your thought process like? For example, if you're given a problem, all right, which you need to solve, what is your thinking process behind how you actually go get a solution? How do you actually digress it and look at it in different areas and say, okay, what is the root cause of this problem? Why is this problem happening? All right, and what is the impact now that we're facing because of this problem? So what is my plan A? If let's say I'm going to propose a solution, why am I choosing plan A? What is the basis of it, and how is this going to make an impact? And is there a backup plan in case, plan A doesn't really work because of certain criteria. So, for example, there's a legislation impact, for example, or an environmental impact, for example. What is your plan B in terms of actually proposing the solution? Yeah. So that is basically, in essence, what capacity assessment is about. And then you look at achievement. So, for example, as graduates, yeah, your goal as graduates is to graduate with good grades. Yeah. So, what constitute as good grades for you, and what are you going to put in place to get to your good grades? Yeah. Are you looking at additional planning out a timetable, for example, that really charts out your timing in terms of allocation? All right. This is going to be my study time. This is going to be my meetup with my lecturers. This is going to be my group study time. So again, really looking at what you're putting in place to get to your goal. Yeah, and how clear are you on your goal? And is your goal achievable? Is it smart? A smart goal, pretty much. Yeah. And then we look at relationship, and relationship really looks at how you build your networks or your relationship with people around you. How do you work together as a team? How are you as a leader? So in essence, it's a lot of things that you see here are not really just hardcore technical skills that we look at. I think in Shell, we always believe that your technical skills are things that we can give to you when you're in the program already. It's something that we can teach you. But a lot of the criteria that you see here, or what I've just explained, are pretty much soft skills. Things that, it takes time for you to sort of experience and develop on it. So as graduates at this point, I think the outtake from today's presentation would be for you to take some time out later on and sort of reflect back and see where are you at this moment in time. So if you look at your experiences as graduates, do you have enough extracurricular experiences, for example, where on the areas of teamwork and leadership, have you had enough experiences already? If not, what can you do about it? Yeah, would you be able to get that sort of experience while you're still in university? When in terms of building your capacity, for example, do you make sure that you're always, as part of the team, you're always involved in looking at alternative solutions or giving suggestions, things like that? Are you outspoken in your ideas? How do you actually convey your ideas out to people and convince them that, yeah, this is what my idea is and why this will work? So a lot of times it's more of really going through the experience itself. I mean, we read a lot of books, I'm sure, on books on teamwork and leadership and managing conflicts and managing difficult relationships, for example. But really, in essence, books can tell you so much, but really, experience is really what matters as well. So try to reflect back and try to get as much exposure and experience as possible while you're in the university, because that's the best time to also learn. And if we go into the next slide, we want to share with you in terms of how can you apply. So when you listen to Agan and also to Mengyan, there were two ways where they came in. Agan came in through an assessment internship, and Mengyan came in through a Shell recruitment day. So these are, in essence, the two main pathways that you have as options. So assess internship is generally for penultimate year students or second last year students. Yeah. And if you talk in terms of process-wise, in Shell, everything, all your application needs to be funneled online. We don't process hard copy resumes or hard copy applications or email applications. Everything needs to be channeled to our website, which is shell.com.my/careers. Once you're at the site, you go under students and graduates. Don't go under experienced professionals. I'm not sure why some students actually choose that. But anyway, in your level, you choose students and graduates, and then you select which is the pathway that you're choosing. So if you're going through an assess internship, then you select applying for an assess internship, a Shell assess internship. If you're in your final year and you're graduating this year, then you apply for the Shell recruitment day or apply to attend the Shell recruitment day. Yeah. So you just go to the website and the links are there. Once you're done submitting your online application, where you got to fill up your the profile, answer quite a few questions there, and submit your resume and transcripts, you then will be given an online assessment. Now that link will be sent to your email address. So you need to check after about 4 hours once you've created your profile, the link will be sent to you. So there are two online assessments ultimately that you need to complete. And the first test is basically a competency assessment that assesses you on your personality, your behavior, your thought process. Now, ultimately, there is no right or wrong answer in this first assessment because it's really a behavioral assessment. Yeah, But the mistakes, or the common mistakes that most graduates always make when they do the online assessment is they look at it and say, oh, it's just another personality test, I'll just do it. As graduates, I'm sure we are very active on Facebook. You'll see all sorts of quizzes that come your way on personality, and so it's quite fun. But when you're doing an employment sort of online assessment, and it's an assessment of your personality, do keep in mind that you are being assessed at that moment. So in our website, we actually have a mock online test that or practice test that you can actually do before attempting to do the actual test. And the reason why I would advocate for the mock test, for you to do the mock test before the actual test, is because if you do not pass the first test, you cannot carry on. You will need to wait a year before you can apply back to Shell. Yeah. So do the mock online test first, and once you pass the first test, then the second test will be given to you. And the second test is more of a cognitive-based assessment. It's decision-making, problem-solving sort of assessment. So there are two parts to it, and in the second part, it's more of a timed assessment. And what I would suggest to you is that, one, you make sure that you have a calculator on standby, because there is problem-solving questions that you need to answer in that limited time. Now, the mistake a lot of graduates make during the second test is that they let the time or the time that counts down get the best of them, and so they sort of get all nervous, and they sort of just answer all the questions as it goes along, regardless whether it's right or wrong. So again, you have to keep in mind that you are being assessed at this point, and you really need to learn to manage the time that you are given to answer those questions. So make sure you plan your time out accordingly and properly. And the key rule when you want to do your online assessment is just make sure that you're in an environment where you can really focus and you have stable internet connection. So don't put yourself in an environment where you have people walking in and out and someone hollering at you and saying, hey, let's go for a drink or something like that. It really, you sort of lose your focus. You can't really set your mind and say, okay, I need to complete this test. And if you're going to use a calculator, again, please don't use your phone as a calculator, because suddenly a phone call comes in or a WhatsApp message comes in, you sort of get distracted and you sort of lose focus. So you just use a proper, ordinary, old school calculator for when you do the online test, so that you don't have that sort of distraction. So again, up to the second test, if you pass it, then you will be shortlisted for the next stage, which is an initial interview. Yeah, and in this stage of the interview, it can be done via phone or face-to-face. Either way, it depends. And it's a 1-hour assessment where we assess you on your achievement and relationship skills. So looking back at what I've explained about A&R earlier on, basically it's an assessment of your past experiences. Yeah, so what you've done in your university life, or if you've had any internship experiences and things like that. So that is what we will look into during the initial interview. So up to this stage, it is the same for those applying either for internship or employment. All right. And if up till this stage you do not pass either one of it, there is a cooling period, especially in employment. There is a cooling period of up to 1 year. Yeah. At internship stage, if you do not pass the online assessment, it's still fine. It doesn't impact your application to employment. Yeah. But it just means that you cannot apply again for the internship. Yeah. But it doesn't impact your employment application. So the following year, you still can apply for employment. There is no cooling period involved in that. But at employment, yes, you need to wait a year before you can apply back to Shell. Now, once you pass the interview, you then go into either your internship. So your internship, again, depends on what is your university's requirement in terms of duration. The minimum we look at is 10 to 12 weeks, and you will be given a project that you need to work on, where in that project you will be assessed upon. Yeah. And at the end of that internship, just like what Agan experienced, if you pass that assessment, you have a job waiting for you. It's just a matter of when you graduate, you will look into what are your options and what roles is available that we can offer to you. All right. If you're applying under the employment route, you have the Shell Recruitment Day. So it's 1.5 days assessment. And in that half-day assessment, in the first half day, you actually come in for a pre-briefing. So you're not assessed during that half day. But a lot of information is given to you during that half day. And the mistake a lot of graduates make during this time is that at that half day, they just come in and they listen and then they go home and then they sleep. But they don't really factor in the information that is given to them, take time to sort of read through it and prepare themselves for the next day. And when the next day you come in and you just like what Mingyan said, there's a lot of assessment that happens throughout the whole day. But again, while as challenging as it may be, it's also quite eye-opening for most of the graduates, almost all graduates that have come for Shell Recruitment Day in itself. And at the end of the Shell Recruitment Day, there are two potential outcomes, of course. One is if you pass, then we'll say, hey, welcome to Shell, congratulations. So this is the roles that will then be offered to you by our recruiters. If, let's say, you do not pass, then you will need to wait 3 years before you can apply back to Shell, which means that after the third year, you can't apply back to Shell as a graduate anymore, because one of the other requirements of the graduate program is for those with less than 3 years of experience. So if you have more than 3 years, you need to apply under the experienced professional route. And under the experienced professional route, there is a whole set of different criteria as well, and it's quite different. So if, let's say, you do not make it through the SRD, please don't be disheartened and say, that's it, I can never apply to Shell anymore, I will never get that opportunity. No, you still have that opportunity. It's just that the cooling period is there for you to gain more exposure to work on your areas of development, which will be shared to you by the recruiter when they convey the outcome of your SRD to you one-to-one. Yeah. And so in that essence, the only tip that I can give you if, let's say, you do not pass your SRD would be, just once in a while visit the Shell website and go under experienced professionals, look at what are some of the current roles that we're looking for, what are the sort of requirements that there is. So then you can sort of reflect back on yourself and say, okay, how can I prepare myself better? Or what do I need to do if that is a role that I really am interested in, for example. So what are the sort of requirements? You may not get the exact role 3 or 4 years down the line, but at least you know what are the requirements like. Yeah. And so in essence, that is your whole journey process in terms of applying to Shell. And as challenging and as rigorous as it is, there is a reason why it's that way. And looking back at what Joseph and Agan and Mingyan has shared, the essence of graduate program is really about leadership development and leadership building. So we're potentially building future leaders for Shell, not just Shell Malaysia, but Shell as a whole. Yeah, and hence why you are put through a very rigorous process ultimately, because we are looking for the right talent to do the right job and be able to develop them in the future. Yeah. So that is in essence the application process and the essence of the graduate program. Now, before I open up the floor for questions and answers, I'd like to share with you on an upcoming competition that we're also having, and this is the Shell Ideas 360. So the Shell Ideas 360, in essence, is a global competition, and we're opening it up to all students. And basically, it's looking at the food, water, and energy stress nexus areas. Yeah, so those are the 3 areas where we're looking at. And the essence of this competition is really looking for innovative ideas that you feel can make a difference in these areas here. And it could be projects that you're currently working on, or if you've always had an idea in your mind and said, yeah, this could really potentially make a difference in this area, but never had the right platform to sort of showcase it out, then this is one perfect opportunity for you. Now, this competition last year, this is our 3rd season that we're running this competition, and last year we actually had a finalist in Shell Malaysia, in Malaysia, that represented Malaysia in the finals. Chris, can we go to the next slide? So the team that made it to the finals was actually a team from UTP, or University Technology Petronas, and they made it through the 3rd stage, where they went to the Netherlands and they pitched their ideas in front of a panel of industry judges. So while they didn't make it, but ultimately the whole experience was really something eye-opening for them, because they really learned a lot of skills that they never really planned on learning or thought they would be able to learn in the first place. So when you think about it, when you talk about research skills, you talk about video making skills, for example, or how do you even creatively pitch an idea to a panel of people, those are some of the key skills that they really learned along their way. So in this whole competition, there are 3 main stages. We go to the next slide. There are 3 main stages that you can experience. So we're currently at stage 1, where we're looking at the formation of your team and you actually writing a pretty much a simple synopsis of your idea. So you need to have the following things in place, which is the title, of course. What is the title of your idea? An elevator pitch of your idea. Now, we've actually, for this year, I need to update this slide, but it's actually moved from 200 to 500 words. So you have actually more words to describe your idea on. Yeah, so it's not 200 words, it's 500 words that you can use to describe your idea. Now, in essence, an elevator pitch means that, okay, put yourself in a situation where if you're stuck in an elevator with the general manager of an organization or the CEO of an organization, and you have that elevator ride to pitch your idea to the CEO and why the CEO should take in your idea, what would that pitch be? Yeah, so that is in essence the idea or the concept behind the elevator pitch. Yeah, so you need to have that ready, 500 words, and you need to have an image or a photo that represents your idea. It could be a sketch, it could be something that you've built and then you just take a photo of it or something like that. It could be. But when you think about your idea, I mean, one, you should reflect back on the CAR elements that we shared earlier, and I shared earlier, which is capacity, achievement, relationship. So when you look at your idea, you really need to assess how original is your idea, how relevant is your idea to the community that you intend to execute your idea at, how doable is it, how commercially viable is it even in that sense, yeah? So ask yourself some of those questions before you actually pitch in or propose your idea. Now, when you submit your idea, you can submit your idea as an individual or in a team up to maximum of 3 people, yeah? And then after that, what happens at stage 1 is open till the 31st of December this year. And then after that, they will go through a shortlisting phase where the top 100 ideas from all the submissions that come in from around the world will be shortlisted. So the top 100 ideas will then, or the top 100 teams will then need to expand their idea. They need to create a video, they need to create a bigger proposal, they need to do in more research on their idea and prepare for stage 3, pretty much. And then after stage 2 is done, they will then shortlist the top 5 teams out of this 100. And this top 5 teams will then be flown to the Netherlands, where they will meet an industry, they will present their ideas to the panelists, industry panelists, and if their idea or if your idea wins this competition, you win quite a lot of things. And the main 2 things that you win is, 1, funding from Shell to really bring your idea to life. Ultimately, the IP of your idea belongs to you, but Shell will fund your idea and bring it to life. And secondly, you will win a full expense-paid expedition with National Geographic. So you get to appear on National Geographic, which not many people get to have that experience. And so the last 2 seasons, winners, the first season was from Canada, and the second season the team was from Singapore. These 2 teams decided to go to Antarctica, to explore Antarctica as part of their Net Geo expedition. So think about it, what would your Net Geo expedition be? If you want to go to the Amazon, I think that will be also possible. So it's really up to you what you intend to do. But it's an interesting journey as well, and it's also an opportunity for you to get to know Shell a little bit better in terms of our culture, in terms of what we stand for. I think Joseph mentioned earlier, the aim of Shell is to be the most innovative and competitive company out there. And we want to share that vision also with students and embracing innovation and competitiveness, or a spirit of competitiveness in them. Yeah, so this is one perfect opportunity for you to be able to do that. So do go online to the website, which is shellideas360.com. If you go to the next slide, you can go to the website shellideas360.com to register yourself, where you can get more information and start working on your ideas, start working on your teams. You have till the end of December to submit your idea in. And so it's open to all students, regardless of whether you're an international student or not. Yeah, it's open to all students, and it's an opportunity for you to represent UNSW as well as your country. Yeah. So I'll open this time out now for questions. If any of you have any questions, and if you have a particular person you would like to direct it to, just feel free to do that. Yeah.
Sheila, sorry, just to clarify something on the application process. Can you go back to the slide? The application. Go.
So for the Shell
Yes, go back.
Oh, Shell application. Sorry.
So just to clarify over here, the application for internship and SRD actually the same stage from stage 1 to stage 3. So in any case, unfortunately, if you fail in either of this stage, for internship, there is still a 12-month cooling period. So it's the same for SRD.
If they do not pass the interview.
Yeah, if
right?
they do not pass, they still have to go through 12 months cooling period. Yeah, it's the same for employment.
Yeah, but at the online assessment, if they do not pass the online assessment, it doesn't. The first stage, the first test, I think, it doesn't impact the application. Yeah.
It will still 12 months cooling period. It's the same.
It changed. It changed it. Okay. All right.
Great, thank you everyone. This is Blair. So we've got a couple students here, hopefully some questions, but I'm going to pose one first just to get things started. And this could be answered really by anyone. In regards to the criteria, Sheila, that you had mentioned, and you mentioned in this on the presentation on Monday as well, capacity achievements and relationship skills as well. Can any of you give any insight into the students into the room on how they may be able to develop some of those skills while at university?
Anybody want to take that question, or I take that? Okay. So basically, I think when you look at it, it's pretty much to do with your extracurricular activities, for example. So the kind of societies that you join in, for example, I always tend to ask the students, what is the purpose of them joining societies? You know, is that because they feel that that's an area where they feel that they want to develop themselves on? Because if there is a bigger purpose of why they join a particular society, they are more committed to it, and they are more eager to sort of expand and learn more things from it. So joining societies is good, but you have to know what is your intent of joining the particular society and being committed to it and being active in it and ensuring that you find opportunities where you can get exposure on leadership, for example. So if there is an opportunity coming up for you to organize something for the society, you know, take up that challenge and say, yeah, I have no experience in organizing anything, but I will take this challenge up and lead it and do it. Yeah, because that's how you also learn in terms of when you face the challenges, for example, how do you actually manage those challenges? How do you manage stakeholders? How do you manage difficult conflicts, for example? Yeah. So it's through those experiences that you have, and even, for example, in the projects that, as part of your studies, you know, you do the project. How diverse is the team that you work with? So do you always work with the same kind of people, or do you make sure that, you know, the projects that you work with, there is diversity in your team? And diversity is not just about changing the people in the group, but you're talking about even people from different backgrounds in terms of studies, people from different parts of the world, you know, people of different genders, for example, even, you know, how diverse is your team that, you know, you're able to learn from each other and cohesively work together, yeah, and bring the team together. And yeah, so I think it's just looking at pockets of opportunities where you really can get those sort of exposure. Anyone else want to add anything? Wendy?
Great, thank you, Sheila. Does anyone here have any questions? I encourage you to take this opportunity now to pick the brains of all of these people who have kindly volunteered their time. You might not have access to them again. So are there any questions on the application process, what it's like to work with Shell, any particular challenges you wanted to know about certain streams, certain areas within Shell? Yeah.
Hi. Just a bit of question regarding is it only open for Malaysian or other nationality as well? What's that? The internship or the graduate program?
So I guess the question is whether the internship or graduate programs are just for opportunities within Malaysia, is that correct? Yep, so that's the question.
Okay. So for Shell Malaysia, the focus is on Malaysian talent at this point. However, as an international student, I do encourage you to apply back to your home country, where you're from. If there is no Shell presence in your home country, then you can apply to the global site, which is shell.com/graduates, and that's the global site, whether it's for internship or employment. I'm not sure what are the seasons for them in a global standing. If I'm not mistaken, they're open throughout the year, just like Malaysia as well. But if there is Shell presence in your country, what you can do is go to our careers website, and on the top left-hand corner of the screen, you will see a drop-down box of countries, and so you just select a country where you're from or where you have valid work authorization in. Yeah? Does that answer your question, I hope?
Great, thanks, Sheila. Yes, that does. Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Sheila, for sharing the application process. I would like to ask something out of the box. Like, with the oil prices highly unstable in recent years, like, what will it be like the future of oil and gas industry in Malaysia or in another country?
Anyone want to take that question? No?
Maybe I can take that one then. Well, regardless, the company strategy is still maintained in Malaysia at the moment. We still have a lot of regardless of the oil price, we still are continuing to explore around the world. So we found some gas finds in Malaysia thus far, and we're looking to develop them as well. And also with the recent acquisition of Shell BG, we're looking to expand our horizons towards Brazil and other locations as well. So in terms of oil price, we need to be a bit more prudent about how we work our projects as well in terms of cost effectiveness as well. So I think in the past we tend to be a bit more clunky. So hopefully we are trying to re-strategize and try to be a bit more adaptable and lean as well. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, and here in Malaysia, we're developing deep water assets as well. So some of these assets are coming into play in the next couple of years. One of them is already up. So oil prices, they go up and they go down, but these are long-term investments that we're making. So, yeah.
Thank you. Any question?
Yeah.
Right, thank you. Yes, I think Joseph has something to add on.
Okay. Just on that, I guess that we could ask our CEO as well, and he'll probably say the same. Yeah, this is really market condition. At the same time, the commodity industry are facing the same challenge, and you probably see that as well with the mineral companies. So yes, it's a time where economically it's challenging. Each company do respond differently. So I think we did share with you the sort of the strategy a bit of how we are going to go ahead. Yeah, in terms of repositioning ourselves, optimizing our resources, really looking at the portfolio opportunities around. Yeah, so this industry is not going to go away. You're going to use petrol, gasoline, whatnot. The chemical industry will still stay and whatnot. So it's a cylindrical, there's a cycle to this, yeah. And those who are long in the industry know there's a pattern, and you see the pattern in X numbers of years. Yeah. So yes, the concern is real, and at the same time, when we are looking at, hey, this is the situation in the market, many, probably not us here, many people do come to Shell at the downturn as well, and have grown. Yeah, they have grown into different positions right now. So there are, look at threat as an opportunity as well, and as a company, and with the other companies, majors, what is different about Shell is we are a vertical company. Means we go through, we have almost all the different groups, and that sustains us through the challenging time. Yeah. So that's it.
You won't stop graduate recruitment either, right?
And yes, thank you.
Just to clarify.
We're not going to stop the graduate. In fact, we see graduate as the bright spark. Yeah, so for us to fill out our talent pipeline. One day someone will take over my job as well, a graduate. Yeah, that's a plan. That's a plan.
Okay, can I ask?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. What life is like for a reservoir engineer in Shell Malaysia?
Did you get that?
The question is, what is life?
Uh,
For reservoir engineer?
yeah, reservoir engineer. His life, what it's like.
The life of a reservoir engineer.
We are not reservoir engineers per se. I do know reservoir engineering friends. Maybe I can give from that perspective, third party's perspective, if you wish.
Third party perspective.
So yeah, I mean, as a reservoir engineer, you spend a lot of time doing modeling work. So there's a modeling tool called Morris, which basically try to model different sectors within a reservoir, understand different reservoir properties and how it basically in the final product, I mean, how much you can actually produce from a particular oil and gas reservoir and for how long. So you, as a part of reservoir engineering team, you work with the different parts of the subsurface team as well, like petrophysicists, geologists, just to determine how much volume of gas and oil there is potentially in a reservoir, and then from there, the reservoir engineers to work with that and try to develop this model. And then reservoir engineer also, there's a lot of interface basically with the subsurface teams and also the surface team. Basically, once you develop your reservoir model, you know how much you're going to produce. Then you need to tell that to your surface engineers, who then design the facilities that needs to handle these oil and gas reserves. So you do generally a lot of modeling work, but you can develop further into more leadership role, like a subsurface leader, let's say an asset development lead, for instance. So you move towards that, where you see manager reservoir engineers as well. And also you can work, future job, you can also work as a front-end development manager, where you basically be in charge of during a particular opportunity as well. So you'll be the integrator between the technical and the technical and the non-technical aspects of the project. And yeah, you also get a lot of courses, of course. And so reservoir engineers, a lot of courses are depending on the different locations as well. But yeah, more obviously we try to do as much as possible in Kuala Lumpur, but you do opportunities to network and in other locations as well.
Also, I might add, here in Malaysia, we have all sorts of different reservoirs. I mean, we have carbonate reservoirs, we have classic reservoirs. So, you know, for those who know the subsurface a bit, it's a very interesting role. I interface daily with the reservoir engineer for my field, and we work our facility producing as best as we can. This is a question.
Thank you a lot.
Oh, yeah, hi. I'm just wondering, are first-year students eligible to apply for the assess internship?
So for assess internship, generally it's for penultimate year students. We are sort of trying to work out a junior internship for early year students, so first and second year, but that's still in the works. And the idea behind it is because we want to make sure that when you're in, you're able to do the project that is according to your level of exposure in terms of studies already. So we don't want to give you a project where, you know, it's beyond your comprehension at that point in time. Yeah, but the junior internship is still something we're working out. We haven't launched it yet, or we're not doing it yet. So yeah, in short, not yet, but for internship in Shell, assess internship at least is for penultimate year, third year onwards.
All right, thank you.
Hello. Just one question. If I apply an internship in Malaysia, do I get to choose the region where I like to work in, like Malaysia or KL?
Well, for this location-wise, it will be pretty much firstly depending on the project available, and of course, we will share with you if what feasible project on hand and where actually the location is. So if you have we align each other, then we will map you to the particular intern project.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I think you can indicate your interests, like where your interest area would be, as well in your application. And if there is any restrictions for you to go to be based in some other locations, I think there is that option there for you to indicate in the application form. But it's also heavily dependent on where the project needs you. So if the project needs you in KL, you'll be in KL. If it's in Miri, then you need to be in Miri, and you need to decide then whether that is something you're open to or not. Yeah.
Hi, I'm from mechanical background. So as much as I want to do technical stuff, but I would like to expose to non-technical stuff like marketing and business analysis. So do we have this kind of opportunity if we join the internship, the assess internship in Shell?
Yes, the answer is you do. But anyhow, since you have a mechanical background, but of course we will share with you the pros and cons to start as the engineering exposure. Then if you really pass the assessment and if we hire in, you started as a engineering background as well, then ultimately actually because we will have a job rotation. So you could like, just now is Agan, right? You share that actually you could even like call for like some commercial exposure, which actually you started as an engineering background, which give you a sense or feel like how actually the operational works on ground. So when you move on to the commercial, because this is ultimately actually is profit-making business, so you will, work in a more efficient way, or you know like the operational cost, how actually you could really save out the cost and all that. So I think this would be a better means that you start as your background.
Thank you.
I've known examples, not necessarily internships, but in Shell, one of my colleagues worked in LNG for a few years, so she started in technical background working as process engineer, then eventually she wanted to move to commercial. So she did a stint in HR, even did a stint, I can't remember, it was like commercial as well, and eventually she moved to become commercial LNG at the current moment and having a very fruitful career. So it is possible, but you also need to think about it, like what you want, the end game of your, the next few years, what you want to do as well. You need a clear idea in your mind and how you want to get there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you everyone. This is Blair again. Just wanted to respond to a couple of questions that have come in to us online from people logging in at home. I think some of the questions have already been answered, but I'm just going to repeat them for the sake of those people logging in at home. One of the questions was, what are some of the core values that Shell looks to having candidates? And I think, Sheila, you addressed this already in terms of the capacity, achievements, and then relationship skills. So that's been reviewed. Did you have anything else to add to that in terms of values?
I think the Shell core values is I think the capacity achievement relationship is pretty much what we assess you upon. But in essence, our value as an organization and the culture of the organization is honesty, integrity, and respect. And I think that is the core thing that is embedded in every Shell staff. Of course, we have other things like, for example, safety is also a big part of our core values or our core cultures in that sense. But when we talk about core value system, it's really much in honesty, integrity, and respect in terms of the way we do things, the way we work with people, whether they're internal staff or not. Yeah.
Great, thank you. We've had a couple questions, again, just to confirm for students logging in from home in regards to applying to positions in Malaysia. If you are interested in opportunities in other countries, I was actually just on the Shell website right now on my smartphone and see that pull down menu that, Sheila, you were referring to. So if you are interested in applying for positions in another country other than Malaysia for Shell, go to the website and you can select the country which you have legal working rights in. So for the Malaysia opportunities, you do need to have legal working rights to be assigned to a project or to work there. Excellent. I think that's it. I want to be conscious of all of your time over there in Singapore. I know you early morning still a little bit for some of you. So we greatly appreciate your time. Sheila and Winnie, Chris, did you have anything to add?
No, but just a reminder that we will be participating in the Gradan Australia Career Fair. So we will be there. So if any of you are interested to speak to us face to face, do drop by the Grace Hotel on the, I forgot what date, but I'm sure, what date was it? 6th of October, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll be there. It's from 3 to 8 p.m., the fair. So come and meet us at the booth and we'll be more than happy to chat with you. Yeah?
Terrific. Thank you, Sheila. And yes, we will be promoting that to all the students on our website as well. So for those of you here in attendance, we'll be promoting that. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. And once again, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Take care.